Hi everyone, in today's video I'm doing a Valentine's card. This is the last romance card for the season. I'm going to go in a lot details on how to mix and match pattern papers, how to make them stand out from each other and such details. But first we're going to jump into the coloring. And I have actually put the coloring in the beginning of the video because it is a kind of color heavy card, with this image being a little bit one of the bigger ones. I do want to know, what do you prefer? Just leave me a comment down below telling me what you prefer, beginning or at the end of the video. Do you really watch them? Do you like coloring? Things like that. If you like the real-time version of coloring, I do have a separate video for that, which you can find either in the description down below or at the end of the video, like a clickable link. So yeah, and also in the description you find all kind of details, all the supplies used, everything, and also a link to the blog with close-up photos and such. But yeah, coloring. Today I'm actually using a different paper. I've been using a different paper for Copic coloring since I got back from Florida in December. I actually bought a whole rim of Hammermill cardstock. I've seen a lot of really good colorists that use the Hammermill. It is super affordable in the US. I think you get 250 sheets for like $14 or $15, or that was what I paid. I can't get them here in Sweden, and postage is super expensive. However, as I did travel and I did have a pretty big bag, I was able to bring it home. But yeah, the paper, the Hammermill paper, is a little bit different than the Make It Crafty. It's have a little more porous surface, so the ink kind of goes into the paper a little bit differently. It also have a little bit more of a yellow undertone. I still haven't really decided which one I mostly prefer, but I do want to play around with it a little bit more. I do like that it is very similar to Make It Crafty, so that the inks go down sort of similar. It's about the same. So yeah, I really like it. The colors show up differently though. That is something I have to get used to. Probably should print another one of those Sandy Elnock sheets and paint it all, but on the new paper, so that so I get my little cheat sheet to which colors looks how. If you change paper, you should always do that, because they will not show up the same way. They will mix differently with the undertone of the paper and such. Also differently how it kind of goes into the paper. But yeah, my color scheme for this little girl, by the way, she is called Carley Cupid. She is a stamp Anniething stamp. She's actually a digital stamp. Stamp Annie has mostly clear stamps, which are pretty affordable. They are not that expensive at all. But I wanted to try out to do a couple of her images, so I went digital because, you know me, I like my digital stamps. I do like my other stamps too, but I like the digital stamps because you can print it and you can do different things. In this case, I have actually printed her on a 20% opacity, so that we have very light lines, because I wanted her to be very soft. They come in black lines, and what I also really liked about this digital stamps is that they come in a real stamp size, which means that they match up with her clear stamps. So she has a whole bunch of clear stamps of these characters, and then they come in a the digital size comes both in a large version but also in the real stamp version. So then I can kind of know that they can go together with any kind of clear stamps that I would purchase in the future. So I really like that too. But I printed her lighter, both because I wanted the eyes not to be stark black, which they usually are, but also to get that softness beauty simpleness. And then I'm going for very neutral colors. And to make it super easy for me, I actually shaded her whole outfit in gray, everything in gray, and then I'm using one red pen to just color up on top of it. And you still get all of that shading because the Copics aren't opaque, they're a bit transparent. And as you see on those feathery things, if you go over with the gray afterwards, you will get a whole other tone on tone effect. So I do recommend going in with the gray at the bottom and the red at the top. But yeah, that is basically the coloring done. So let's jump into the card making. I am cutting her out with my fussy cutting scissors as usual. And by the way, this is sped up like 500%, so 5 times the speed, just like the coloring. So I'm not that fast of a cutter. I cut very, very slowly, and I move the piece when I cut, and that gives you pretty good. I was going for those dots, and then I saw this little mail paper. I'm like, this is what I'm gonna use. I thought I had finished off that I'm gonna use just those 2 papers, and then I remembered I had this love die, and I already knew I wanted to use those heart dies. And to finish it off, I'm going to use these little XOXO and arrow dies that I have, just as kind of little details. But the love and the arrows I needed new papers for, so I went back into the same pattern paper pack. So this is one and the same Doodlebug pattern paper pack. I knew I wanted to do the love in pink. And I knew I wanted to have like a dark blue for the arrows and the XOXO. So choose the dark blue for the XO, and then I figure out, oh, the only pink that is sort of muted is these bows. So this is what I'm going to use. Then pour out all the dies to figure out which one that I wanted to use that fitted good. I then kind of line up all of my little dies onto my pattern paper. I put it down with some tape, run it to my big shot, and then I just pushed it out of the dies. I'm using an A2 card base, and I'm then cutting down that pattern paper to 4 by 5 1/4, which makes it gives it an 1/8 of an inch all around, because it is a 1/4 inch smaller on each side. So the card base is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I then just add that paper down. One of the things I was thinking about this time that I wanted to make sure that I oriented all the papers correctly before I did any kind of cutting and pasting and everything. I put the heart that I did in the red paper as kind of the mid part. This is a tip if you're doing these kind of little letters that are connected originally, but when you take them out of the die, they're no longer connected. Use the paper you cut out as kind of a placeholder, and it holds. Then you can just put them in there, and then you get them all straight and nice, and you don't have to worry about figuring out how to line them up. And then I carefully remove the paper, holding down the letters while I do it. This was when I realized that those loves did not show up great on that pattern paper. So I'm going in with a Copic marker all around. And yes, I did miss a couple of places where I accidentally draw over the letters and the heart, but I'm fixing that by using the little extra pieces, the arrows and the XOXO, to kind of put on top of where I drew outside of the lines. So then I'm just adding down all the XOs and everything. The glue I'm using here is the Fawn glue pen, or yeah, that's the name. I really, really like it. It's a really good sticky glue, and it dries dry. That is what I love with it. I hate glues that are these like if you put it down when it's wet, it's wet, but if you wait a little while, it gets kind of repositionable or just sticky. No, don't like them, but the lawn fawn is perfect for this. For the arrows, I'm not going to line them up with the help of the cutout piece. I'm just going to try to line them up against the letters and against the hearts on the background paper. But the things are still not standing out as much as I want to. I'm adding my foam tape on the back side of the character, but I'm not going to put the character down just yet. I'm sitting here and thinking about what should I do, and then I'm gonna just plaster it with glitter glue and some clear glue, or I don't know, clear crystal, I think it's called. Both are Nuvos, so I'm using the light one, which is called Blizzard, on the letters, and these will actually, when they dry, they will make the paper look a little bit darker, and that will actually help with the contrast to make the love standing out just that teensy tiny bit. And that is a tip. If you actually choose your pattern papers and then you put them down and you realize that things kind of disappear, like the love here, it did disappear against that busy paper, but I still wanted it. I could have used another paper that had a much less of a texture. Those bows are still a little bit too textured, but by just adding that little glitter glue on top of it, it just kind of darkens it up a little bit. Then I'm going to add it to these arrows, and then I realized that the nib on that little bottle is way too fat. So I'm going in with my tweezers. I do not recommend going in with your tweezers. Take a needle or your prick tool or something that is sharp and thin. Don't use your tweezers because they could dry together. I was just not thinking when I like how it is to hold it in my hand, so that's probably why I took it, and it was lying next to me. Okay, it was lying next to me. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling out where I got a little bit too much of that glue. I'm pulling it out from that, and when I ran out of glue, I started going from, was supposed to be from a piece of paper, but you know, I'm messed up, so I'm just picking it up from my mat instead, just drying it off with a paper cloth afterwards. The mat, that is the card, just lay it, and I actually laid it overnight. I was doing this quite late at night, and dry time can be a couple of hours. You don't want to mail it until like 24 hours after you use it, but like dry to the touch is usually 1 or 2 hours. However, I was going to bed, so this dried overnight, and then I just in the morning removed the paper from the tape pieces and placed little Carley in the middle of the card. And yeah, that is this card, which is clean, simple, and busy at the same time. I actually really like this card. I was a little bit proud. I was a little happy over how everything turned out. I hope you did too, and that you liked this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. That means a lot to me. Also comment down below, tell me what you like, what you liked about it, anything. Really appreciate it. It helps me to create new videos, knowing not only what I like but also what you like, what you want to see here on my channel. If you want to see more videos like this, you can push that subscribe button. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.